Hey guys, what's up here? It's Ryan McCullough with Next Generation Music Sessions. I have a great video here for you today. So this video is on connecting three different music theory concepts. So I'm sure you've all practiced your arpeggios, specifically minor arpeggios, your minor pentatonic scale, and you probably know one or more minor scales. But I'm going to give you some insights into how to connect all three of these things, and then also how to practice each of them so that you're reinforcing each of these concepts. It's a really simple idea, and I hope you enjoy the lesson. So here it is. So if you're new to this channel, click this subscribe button below so you won't miss out on any of our content. Okay, so here's the idea. You've got an A minor pentatonic scale. So the next step is just a general observation. This is an A minor pentatonic scale. Let's break up the A minor pentatonic scale into two bits of information. A minor, and we'll just use the first octave to demonstrate, right? So there's my octave. Here's the first octave of the A minor portion of this. And then what I'm going to do to make this a pentatonic scale is I'm going to add two notes. The note that is a whole step below my fifth. Here's my fifth. I'm going to add the note that's below it. And then I'm going to add the seventh, the note below my octave. So we have two levels. Level one is your A minor arpeggio. Level 2 is your A minor pentatonic scale. And I'll do that for the second octave. A minor. A minor pentatonic scale. What if you want to expand your palette and start working on some different minor scales? Just for brevity's sake, I'm going to focus on 4 minor scales. I know that doesn't seem to be very brief, but believe me, it is. So in rock and pop music, we generally use 4 minor scales, right? So the first one is going to be your natural minor scale. So if you have your pentatonic scale, we're just going to add 2 other notes. So notice from your arpeggio, that A minor, to your pentatonic scale, you add 2 notes. We're going to add 2 more notes and come up with a minor scale. It looks like this. Now I'm going to add this note that's a whole step above my tonic, my 1. Now I'm going to add a note that is just a half step above my 5th. Cool. All right, so that means that it's just 2 notes different from my pentatonic scale, right? I can do the same thing with the second octave. The pentatonic scale. Here I'm going to shift to play that scale degree 2. So it's a half step below my 3rd. Here's my 3rd. It's a half step below it, right? There's my 5th. The 6th is a half step above my 5th. So all together. That is your natural minor scale. The next scale I'd like to talk about is very similar to your natural minor scale. That is your harmonic minor scale. So all you're going to do is alter one note from your pentatonic scale. That is going to be the 7th. You're going to create what's called a leading tone. This note will really want to resolve up to your A, right? So it sounds like this. So just one note different from the things that you've already worked on previously. The next one, we're going to go back to that natural minor scale and we're going to alter the 6th note of the scale and turn it into a note that is a whole step above the fifth. So it sounds like this. That's called the Dorian scale. The final scale that we'll look at is the melodic minor scale. There's a caveat. If you learn your melodic minor scale in a quote-unquote classical sense or from classical music focused theory book, you're going to learn that the melodic minor scale is a specific pattern ascending and a different pattern descending. I think that's a theoretical construct, and that's very stylistically specific. So I'm just going to play the quote-unquote ascending pattern the entire time. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, it's okay. Just play this scale and it will give you the melodic minor scale. Alright, so raise 6th, raise 7th, going up here. So it almost sounds like an A major scale, the top portion does from here. So why is the connection between the arpeggio, the pentatonic scale, and the four minor scales important? Because if you can't see the arpeggio and the pentatonic scale in the midst of more complicated things, it's going to make phrasing when you're improvising really difficult to do. It's really good to have this arpeggio kind of in your mind, because any one of these notes is going to sound great over an A minor chord, like any version of an A minor chord, right? Right? And you can start your phrases, end your phrases on any one of those notes, and it's going to sound great. Here's what I'd recommend. I know that if you're a diligent practicer and player, that you're going to learn the scales and you're going to practice them and go, you know, and play. And you're going to work up your speed on them, and you're going to be able to play them with different articulations. Man, it sounds like a lot of work. I think that there is a more effective way of practicing these, and I would say that once you've done this scale work, you've memorized the patterns, right? Then what you want to do is this little drill right here. I'll demonstrate this drill with the minor pentatonic scale. What I want to do is practice leaping from one note to the next. So the traditional mindset is taking an interval and playing a scale with that interval. So here's what I mean. You take a third, for instance, and I will play an A natural minor scale with diatonic thirds. And that's a really great skill to have, but I would say that's like kind of a next level, next tier scale. Here is what I think you can do immediately. Even if you're not very familiar with the notes on the neck or even the notes in this scale, is just take this pattern right here, expand it to the pentatonic scale, and then instead of just practicing this, and then practicing this so that you're playing it quickly, what I'd recommend is playing this leaping pattern. So just the first octave, and then recommend doing that in both octaves, but doing it separately. So what this does is this gets you in the habit of practicing one note to the next, and in fact every single note to the next note, so that you know if there's a specific series of notes that's difficult for you to play, you can just work on those specific series of notes. So I find this particular exercise to be really revealing to where your weak spots are in the scale, how you're playing it as far as technique. And then by grouping these things together, these things being your arpeggio, your pentatonic scale, and your minor scales, it requires you to have to remember less stuff. There's a relationship between your minor arpeggio, your minor pentatonic scale, and your minor scales. And when you see that commonality, the threads that run through these things, it makes it much easier to figure all this stuff out. Now, here's the real catch. This pentatonic scale right here that we all know and love, that is one of many ways to play that. And I'm not talking about the position playing where you go that sort of thing. What I'm saying is that just to play this scale, in order to free yourself from the box, you need to understand a couple of very, very simple but specific ideas. But I'm going to leave that for another lesson. So I hope you enjoyed today's lesson on the arpeggio, pentatonic scale, and 4 minor scales, and how to practice them.